The Phantasmic Journey podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studios. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Paula Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon. Your journey begins now. As you walk the path of the known and unknown, what do we understand? What answers are we trying to achieve? Are there answers? Tonight, we gather to find more verity. Join us as we take the journey into the unknown. This is the Phantasmic Journey podcast with your hosts, Gavin Kelly and Paula Purcell. Well, welcome to the Phantasmic Journey podcast, everyone. I'm Gavin Kelly, and sitting right next to me is my lovely wife, Paula Purcell. How are you today, Paula?
I am better than last week.
Really? Okay. Well, how do you prefer better?
I can actually talk.
You can talk?
I'm not dying.
Oh. All right. Well, with that in mind...
but I still have occasional cough, but not as bad as it was.
Well, I'm going to be clearing my throat every now and then, but I got a nice big glass of Coke here and some cough drops, so we'll see how that goes. But we're going to let you start off with the news before I introduce our guest. So what kind of crazy things in the news you got for us right now?
Well, someone has won the Mega Million.
It wasn't me.
South Carolina. Well, neither one of us. We didn't buy a ticket.
Yeah, I don't play the lottery.
Yeah, we don't. But we wish the person, whoever has won it, give them great gratitude, and hopefully they use it wisely. If they have a few extra they just like to share, throw off to somebody, hey, we're takers.
Huh. So, I got a question. Was it a single person in South Carolina, or was it actually like a group of people, like maybe an office building?
I have no idea. I just know there was a single ticket sold. As far as if anybody pitched in towards the ticket or anything of that fortune, no, I don't know. I just know it was a single ticket that was sold.
Huh. I was just kind of curious about that. I mean, so basically one ticket. Just
ticket
one.
In South Carolina.
So they all must have contributed maybe a number.
I think it's called Stippertsville. The ticket has went to I think it's Stippersville or something like that, South Carolina.
That's crazy.
Well, that's okay. Wherever they sell the ticket at, the gas station or whatever it is gets a percentage because they sold the winning ticket.
Oh, okay.
Proceeding on to other news, today is the anniversary of something big. Well, depends on what you look at as big. On this day in 1901, a 63-year-old school teacher named Annie Edson Taylor became the first person to take the plunge over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Come again? In a barrel?
Yeah.
As in like...
A 63-year-old school teacher.
And did she survive this?
Yes, she survived it. After her husband died in the Civil War, the New York-born Taylor moved all over the U.S. before settling in Bay City, Michigan around 1898. In July of 1901, while reading an article about the Pan American expedition in Buffalo, she learned of the growing popularity of two enormous waterfalls located on the border of the upper state New York and Canada. Strapped for cash and seeking fame, Taylor came up with a perfect attention-getting stunt. She would go over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Okay.
Taylor was not the first person to attempt the plunge over... Let's see.
Are you losing your place on your phone?
Taylor was not the first person to take the plunge over the falls. She did take her ride on her birthday.
Happy birthday.
October 24th. She claimed she was in her 40s, but genealogically records later show she was 63. With the help of two assistants, Taylor strapped herself into a leather harness inside of an old wooden pickle barrel.
Okay.
5 feet high and 3 feet in diameter. Well, I'm 5'2", so...
Wow.
Just a couple inches shorter than me. And she lined with cushions lining the barrel to break her fall. Taylor was towed by a small boat in the middle of the fast-flowing Niagara River and cut loose. Knocking violently from side to side by the rapids and propelling over the edge of the Horseshoe Falls, Taylor reached the shore alive in a bitter batter around 20 minutes after her journey began. After a brief flurry of photo ops and speaking engagements, Taylor's fame cooled, and she was unable to make the fortune for which she had hoped. She did, however, inspire a number of copycat daredevils. Between 1901 and 1995, 15 people went over the falls.
Wow. I sure as heck would not want to go over the falls in a barrel.
Oh, it gets better.
Were they different things, like maybe boats and canoes?
10 of them survived out of the 15.
Ouch.
5 did not survive. Among those who died were Jesse Sharp, who took the plunge in a kayak in 1990.
Well, duh.
And Robert Overcracker, who used a jet ski in 1995.
Hold my beer. Watch this. Wow.
Yeah.
A jet ski.
A jet ski. Yeah, I know. That's a prompt of suicide right there.
What a way to go. Alrighty. So, with that crazy news out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about our guest here. Being obsessed with the paranormal, genealogy, and men in kilts, and not necessarily in that order. Our guest tonight threw herself into the research, having found that she was too distracted by kilts. She then started doing research into a field of paranormal genealogy, finding that there were a lot, and by a lot as in most of the story surrounding hauntings was made up. She decided to find the truth behind these haunted places. Finding the real story behind haunted places is not an easy task. She has to scour the libraries, newspaper archives, and occasional men in kilts. What is up with this men in kilts? You notice she keeps talking about men in kilts. No wonder why she gets distracted. I am talking about Shannon Bradley Byers, along with her husband David and Sir Nigel, the only real ghost orb that she has ever encountered. She continues to pursue the truth. And yes, you guessed it, men in kilts. Shannon lives outside of Atlanta, Georgia with her, her kilt-wearing husband. So obviously she got her husband to wear kilts. Interesting. And her 2 cats, Morgana and Mordred, who help her with her research. She is a genealogist and a historian with 35 years of experience who frequently helps others with their family research and has worked with multiple historical societies, transcribing old documents, research, and grave dowsing. We're going to have to ask her what grave dowsing is. Her first book, How Not to Be a Ghost Hunter, was published in 2016, and her second book, Paranormal, Fake Lore, and Nevermore, Real Histories of the Haunted Locations, was published in 2017. Let's go ahead and get our guest on the phone here, Miss Shannon Bradley Byers, so we can learn a little bit more about paranormal genealogy.
Hello.
Hello, there she is. How are you doing this evening, Shannon?
I'm tired. How are y'all?
Me too.
Yes.
It's been a long day.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering how much the kilts distract you.
Immensely.
Yeah, I noticed it in this bio how many times I said kilt. And then it looks like apparently you got David into wearing kilts.
No, he did that all by himself. That's one reason I fell in love with him.
Oh, wow. Well, I went ahead and checked out your first book. It's truly cool. I love it. I was telling Paula about most of the stories on there, and we will get into that. But my question is, grave dowsing. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. I know you're familiar with dowsing rods. And
Well, yeah.
the different things that you can do with them.
Uh-huh.
Along with finding water, natural gas, petroleum, you can also find unmarked graves.
Really?
And so and along with finding the unmarked grave, you can find an approximate age for the person that's buried there, and you can tell the sex of the person that's buried there.
Wow.
And so over the years, last couple of decades, I have worked with several historical societies in several counties, when they think they might know where an old cemetery is supposed to be.
Right.
I will go out there with the dowsing rods and help them mark where the grave sites are.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of times they've even had people come in with GPR, which is ground penetrating radar, that big thing you roll over. Josh Gates loves to use this, rolls it over the ground to find things under there, and they have confirmed my finds. So grave dowsing is really cool when you're, think you might have a cemetery somewhere, but you don't know for sure.
I was just about to say that grave dowsing was the cheaper way to go instead of ground penetrating radar.
Well, back in the day, there are people who don't believe in dowsing rods. There's people who swear by them.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of you'll find local water municipalities, like city water companies, actually have a paid dowser on their payroll. They carry dowsing rods around with them to help find water.
Huh.
So, it is a thing. Some people believe in it, some don't. I do. I've made believers out of people that have gone behind me and checked. So it's cool, especially when you're trying to find cemeteries that, you find in a family Bible or family story, say, well, I always heard Uncle so-and-so was buried with a bunch of people over here, but there's no tombstones anymore because, unless you had money, you didn't use tombstones, you used field rocks, which always tend to get, dug up and moved when, people are, doing clearing for land and stuff like that, but they're not digging deep enough to actually have gotten to the graves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is.
Oh, okay. I was just kind of curious because I read that and I'm going, grave dowsing? What?
Mm-hmm. It's a very old thing. It's not something I invented. It's just, something I was taught to do. And it's really cool when, what I'll do around here locally, when we do things is I'll go to a cemetery and it's like we'll walk through the cemetery and I'll walk behind the tombstone so I can't see, the names or anything on them.
Right.
And, I'll tell the people that I'm with the sex of the person that's buried there before I show them how the grave dowsing works, because obviously we know there's a grave there.
Right.
We don't have to find it. But being able to show them that I can say, well, this is male or female is pretty cool. The only time it throws me off is if you have a mama who is buried with their stillborn baby.
Oh, okay.
And their stillborn baby may have been a boy instead of a girl. That'll kind of throw it off sometimes.
Were you going to say something, Paula? Because you look like you're about to go up to the mic. Okay. Well, normally in every single show that we do, we always ask our guests what got them into doing what they do. So this is like a huge, I wouldn't want to say a hobby, but it looks like it's more like a job for you. But when did you decide that you wanted to get into paranormal genealogy? How did that come about?
Well, it's actually two different things. The paranormal part came first.
Okay.
When I was 8 years old, and I think I'm older than y'all. I don't know. Did y'all have the book fairs at school when you were in school?
Yes.
Where Scholastic would come
Yes.
in and you would check off the little sheet and, these are the books I want to buy. And
Yep.
then they'd bring in every book they'd ever printed into the library and
Yep.
get you to buy more
Mhm.
when you
yeah.
actually saw them.
Yep.
Well, when I was 8 years old, this happened. And when they brought in the books and we were going through and looking at them, there was a book called Haunted Houses by Larry Kettlecamp
Okay.
that had a picture of the brown lady at Rynham Hall. Everybody knows, that famous picture of the ghost coming down the staircase, back in in the 70s is when it got real popular to be in the few paranormal books that were out there. And, this would have been like 1976. And when I saw that book, I had to get it, and it became my life's mission, for lack of a better word,
Right.
to photograph a ghost. I was not going to die until I photographed a ghost. And I'm 8 years old when I'm doing this.
Huh.
And my parents, our summer vacations were always historical places.
Okay.
It wasn't going to Disneyland and stuff like that. It was always going, Williamsburg. Down here in Georgia, we have an island called St. Simons where Fort Frederica is.
Okay.
And that they had the big Battle of Bloody Marsh in the 1700s, and Christ Church is down there, which is one of the first churches down here for that denomination. It has a very old cemetery with people in it, buried from the 1700s. So I would go down there with my little, film camera with the little flash cubes that every time you took a picture, it rotated one, and you could only take 4 pictures on one. You
Right.
remember those?
Yeah. We're
so
showing
I
our
would take
age,
my
aren't we?
Huh?
I said we're really showing our age, aren't we?
Well, hey, I don't know. I'm 50. I don't mind telling people. I'm very proud of being 50.
I'm gonna be 46 in November.
Well, we're close enough. Okay, so you would remember those cameras.
Oh yeah, I do.
And then you graduated to the little compact disc camera, and Polaroids never seemed to work too well for it. But anyway, I would spend my summers trying to photograph ghosts at all these historic places, and whether I got one or not, I don't know. I still have those photos, and there's weird things in them, but you know how photography can get. So yeah, I always, when I was a child, said, "Ooh, I got one." So that's what got me started into the paranormal part of it. That and the show In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh wow, I remember
which
that.
was a big show in the late 70s. Yeah, I actually own the entire series on DVD. That's how much I loved it, because him and oh Lord, I blanked. What's his name? He's dead now. Hans Holzer.
Okay.
Would do the show about ghosts and things like that, and so that got me even more interested.
Huh.
And so that's the ghost part of it.
Okay.
And that never went away. I'm still trying to take a picture of a ghost and still don't know if I've succeeded.
We're trying to video
the
them.
genealogy thing. Do what?
I said we're trying to video them.
Yeah, one of these days is going to happen, but I'm not a big believer in anybody's photographs. People get mad at me a lot.
Oh, I have to let you look at the video that we took. We actually captured an apparition running.
Oh, that would be cool to see.
Yeah, you can
But
see the
you
arm.
have to remember, I'm very picky.
Oh, I know.
So
I know.
I would say out of the hundreds and thousands of photographs I have taken over my lifetime, one time I have caught something that I could not explain, recreate, and I spent a year trying to recreate this photo and never could do it. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this one is our holy grail. So.
And I think we all have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of
Just
us that
one.
do this, have at least one.
Yeah, yeah.
But the genealogy thing, when I was 13, we had a assignment in English class that we were supposed to find a family story that we knew had been passed down, that we'd heard our grandparents or aunts and uncles tell, and take that story and kind of do a family history, family tree behind the story. And for me, that what your listeners may be familiar with, the book or the movie Cold Mountain.
Yeah.
The movie had Jude Law and Nicole Kidman in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my cousin wrote that book.
Oh.
And it's based on my family.
Okay.
Kind of character-wise. The story is completely fictional.
All right.
Spoiler alert for anybody, so close your ears if you don't want to know this. Nicole Kidman's character did not exist. The character that Jude Law played was my third great uncle. He was my third great grandfather's brother.
Okay.
And there was a whole bunch of Civil War stuff, and it is a bonus chapter in my book, so I'm not going to give too much away.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the story that got me started on the genealogy part.
Okay.
Well, fast forward more years when I started researching haunted places and realized that, wait a minute, these stories that people are telling. Now we're not into the TV shows yet because the TV shows don't exist yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I find out that it's like a game of telephone. Somebody tells a story, the next time they tell it, they add or detract or exacerbate or something.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would go to investigate somewhere, I would actually do, total historical research, not only on the people that had lived in the house, but the town, the people that had lived around it.
Mm-hmm.
If there had been any disasters in the area, whether natural or things like plane crashes or train
tragedies.
wrecks, or train wrecks are always a big one, especially back in the 1800s because trains were wrecking all the time.
Yeah.
Mine disasters, floods, get into your natural stuff, hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that.
Yep.
I would research the entire area, and then the client would end up with like half a book of historical research on their area that they'd never heard. I'd actually go to the archives or the Historical Society and try to prove or disprove these stories that had been handed down.
Right.
And then they'd get a little mini family tree of whoever had lived in their house. Because at this time we're talking historical houses that have been around for a really long time that a lot of people had lived in. So we're all, my thing was try to find out what parts of these stories they're telling me are true.
Okay.
So that's when the two got, the paranormal and the genealogy got married together.
Yeah. Well, like I always tell, whenever we get into this subject, and it usually gets into a heated subject, but I always start off saying, okay, I have this house. It's the year 1800. I've got this ugly-looking tree in my backyard, and I've got this long porch. It's just a house on the edge of town. Okay, well, it's kind of a dull, boring house, so I go ahead and say that I walked out my back porch and saw someone dangling from a tree. Boom, there's the first murder. So someone's going to be like, okay, so somebody died on that tree. They were hung. Okay, so that gets written down. Then you start coming up with ideas. Oh, well, there was, I'm starting to see shadows in my house. I think somebody was brutally shot on my porch. Well, that gets added. So now you got a hanging, you got murder on your porch, and it just keeps escalating throughout the years. And then during that time, it gets so believable, or the person that's actually living there makes it so believable, you'll get people with newspapers and magazines starting to write articles on it. So now it's actually in the press, even though none of this crap really happened, and it goes on to this day. And it just totally blows my mind. And you've written stories on some of the ones that I've always talked about, one of them being the Myrtle's Plantation. That one always gets me.
Myrtle's is, I'm not going to say, I love all the ones, that I've done in the book, since there's not that many. Well, Old Charleston Jail, Bobby Mackey's, The Exorcist House, Waverly Hills, The Conjuring House, and then Myrtle's Plantation. Myrtle's is not my favorite out of all of these.
Right.
It's not the one that's, that's always going to be the Pearl Bryan story.
Yeah.
But the Myrtle's research took the biggest emotional toll on me because I was determined to either prove or disprove the slave Chloe, whether she actually existed. And in part of the research I did in doing that, I went through, there's a thing called the Louisiana slave sale papers.
Okay. And
I went through every single one of them for, a 30-year period in Louisiana in the 1800s to prove that she did not exist. And when you sit and you read how they described this, quote-unquote property, their term, not mine. Not a proponent of slavery, don't want anybody thinking that. It broke my heart. I mean, I cried for weeks when I'm sitting there reading through these things because, there's thousands of them.
Right.
And, I think that wore me out more than any other research I've done on any story. But I did prove she did not exist.
Yeah, and you also told the story of Mr. Winters. He did not... I've heard so many stories on this, and my favorite one of all is, he got shot on the porch, and he dragged his lifeless body across the parlor floor and up the stairs. And
his loving wife behind.
Yeah! First of all, how are you going to drag your lifeless body? That's a red flag right there. And furthermore...
Yeah, that one...
Yeah, and furthermore, you're bleeding, so you're bleeding out. Carpet, wood, blood's going to stain, and it's going to be there forever. None of that is there.
Depends on how good your servants were, but hey.
Yeah, right?
It's proven. I mean, all you've got to do is go back and read the police accounts and newspapers at the time, and that story's immediately disproven. He died instantly on the porch.
Yeah.
He didn't crawl up any stairs.
Yeah, he got shot in the gut, so he bled out.
I mean, it's just like if you go back, excuse me, with, I blanked, what's his name? The guy with Chloe. They said they were having an affair.
You would have to ask
and
that.
And that she, that she, made that cake and poisoned the wife and the kids.
Right.
Depending on who you listen to, either to kill them or to just make them sick enough so that she could take care of them because she had supposedly displeased him.
Yeah.
If you go and you do the research, you can actually prove that wife and the two kids died of yellow fever at all different times.
Right.
The wife died, then one of the children died later, and then the other child died after that. So they didn't die all at the same time. They had one child that, lived to adulthood and got married.
Right.
So all this stuff about, Chloe doing all this stuff it's impossible.
Right.
When you go back, I've got the actual, when the wife did die, he had to go to court, to do some stuff. And the court papers actually proved that, she died of yellow fever. She did not die of poisoning.
Right.
But nobody takes the time, to look this stuff up. This place makes money hand over fist.
Oh, yeah.
On the different stories that they tell, the main one being the poor guy who got shot and dragged up, dragged himself up the stairs. I mean, how much money do they make off this lie?
Well, I tell you what, just for an investigation, it's $3,500 for a private.
Well, I mean, I do want to preface everything by saying, when I research these places and I disprove the popular history, I am not saying these places are not haunted. Yeah. All of these places have, reasons they could be haunted. But they're not haunted for the reasons that these people are telling you that they are.
Right.
The French ghost or the ghost that they keep. What actually happened was.
The French ghost with the green beret.
Yeah.
You have to speak French when you go there.
For me for the book.
I know, that was cute.
When the judge was a single man and had one daughter left to raise because his wife and other 2 kids had died, he got French nanny.
Okay.
Who came over to help him. And they actually, when they sold the property, moved to another part of Louisiana. And, he died an older man. Like I say, the daughter grew up, got married. But a lot of what the research has shown, if you go back and look, because one of the things I do is I try to go back and find where's the first time this part of the story appeared.
Right.
Right? When did somebody start saying this part? When did somebody start saying that part?
Exactly.
So, I can go back through interviews of people that have lived there in the town. I've talked to people that have lived in the town and find out when these particular points, I guess, became urban legends, for lack of a better term, because that's what they are.
Right.
They're urban legends or lies. And, there is, back in the early 1900s, I did find a book that had a description of this French nanny that the judge had hired to come in and take care of his daughter. And she is what morphed into the slave, Chloe.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, stories after stories after stories. I've got the biggest one here, and I read the whole chapter on it. I kind of explained some of it to Paula. The Exorcist House and Boy.
Oh, one of my favorite ones. What you want to know about that one?
Paula?
The fact that it's all lies.
What was the question that you asked me about the Exorcist and the boy? Something about how did they get a hold of the diary, or
how did the diary become of an existence?
They kept a diary during the exorcism process. I mean, the diary is real.
But what about the exorcism?
Well, they did perform the rite. I'm not saying that wasn't done. The diary is 100% real. The diary is not fake.
Okay.
But if you sit and read the diary, actually read what the priest wrote, there's a lot of doubts in there about whether or not
he was really possessed,
real with the boy, or whether the boy was actually mentally ill.
Right.
Because nobody actually saw, like the writings that would appear on his body. Nobody, saw them appear. They saw them after they appeared.
Right.
And they would say things in the diary like it looked like it could have been written on with lipstick. So that, there's no witnesses to the behavior that they were trying to attribute it to the boy being possessed.
Right, because like it was stating in
here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you stated in here. Classic signs taught in demonology: loss of consciousness, losing time, speaking in languages the possessed has never learned, exhibiting signs of unnatural strength, the ability to know what is hidden or unknown, telekinesis, aversion of holy objects and water. No, aversion?
Aversion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking in a voice that is physically impossible, inability to pray, violence toward oneself and others, trouble sleeping, loss of appetite, act of self-humiliation, or nightmares, destruction of religious objects, and swearing that is out of character. Now, this is what's actually written in the diary. He was always hungry and ate well. The only time he spoke another language was when he mimicked Latin phrases already said to him. Voices did not change to one that was physically impossible for him. No acts of self-humiliation. He did not destroy religious objects. He used bad language, but it has been found to be in his character. And with the exception to hidden treasure map, it was never indicated if it was looked for or not. There was no knowledge of the unknown exhibited. So basically everything that was stated in, with the terms of demonology, it didn't even reflect him.
Exactly. I mean, there were no signs. I would be more inclined to say that during, the time that he lived, autism wasn't known of, right?
Right.
I would say that he was on some part of the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
He was a mean child. It's been proven with interviews for people who actually knew him before this stuff happened. He was terribly mean, and he would do things to people on purpose just to hurt them.
Yeah, he was a bully.
He had a dog.
He was a bully.
Yeah, he was a bully. He had, what we would probably refer to as a quote-unquote junkyard dog.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may understand that term. Mean old dog, it's like the dog in Stand By Me that the kids wanted to, they always said sick balls to make the dog mad.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of dog. He would hide in bushes, and he would sick the dog on his friends in the neighborhood just to see what would happen.
That's crazy.
So, this child was not right to start with.
So, in basically, the more religious sector was back then is if your child hadn't acted right, that means the devil got a hold of them. And
well, exactly. I mean, you could be put in an insane asylum because you read books, Of course the church is going to look at, misbehaving kids as being demon-possessed.
I understand that. I understand
you
that.
don't understand.
Say again?
I said, I understand that because the fact that I was raised up in a very Catholic home, and we went to confession once a week if we needed it or not, because Mom says you did something wrong. I just don't know why it is, but you're going to the priest anyway. And that was actually exact words from my mother.
Oh, man. One thing that kind of gets me is that 21 times the rite was performed on this non-possessed kid.
Right.
That kind of blows my mind. 7 were done at the St. Louis house. 4 were actually done in the College Church Rectory. 2 were done in Maryland, and 8 were done at the Alexian Brothers Hospital. But the kid wasn't even quote-unquote possessed, so why were they doing these rites? I mean, what were they trying to accomplish?
Well, they were taking the word of other people who had supposedly witnessed these things.
So it was all hearsay, and they believed it.
Yeah. You've got to keep in mind, it's not now. This was 1940s.
Right.
Catholic Church was a little different back then. Society was a little different back then. Who's going to make this stuff up? The boy probably exhibited weird behavior, again, because I believe he was somewhere on the spectrum for autism.
Right.
Or, some other mental disorder.
Right.
And exhibited, when you deliberately sick a dog on people to see what's going to happen, that's, and that's proven that was happened, what kind of person does that? And when you don't know about the mental disorders that when you don't know what you know about the mental disorders that we know now,
mm-hmm.
back then, that you call the priest in. And why is the priest going to think that the family is making this stuff up?
Exactly.
I mean, I think a lot of wires got crossed. My main thing, the reason that I even did that one in the first place was that joke of a TV show that they did. Was they were going to exorcise the house live on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so angry with that television show because you have somebody on that television show completely contradicting something that he had said previously about how you cannot exorcise a house.
Right.
But here he is, he's willing to be on live TV and say that you can.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And then, they stuck the poor Tennessee Ray Chasers down in the basement in that house and left them down there and made them look really silly.
Right.
And then did that total Ouija board experiment, which they did completely wrong. And so, I got really mad at this TV show. And I'm like, why would you even try to exorcise a house that nothing happened in?
Exactly. And then the other thing that got Paula, she was totally pissed off because, first of all, if you're going to go ahead and quote-unquote cleanse a house or exercise it or whatever, you leave the cross there. You don't walk out with it. Right?
I mean, nothing they did made sense. There was nothing about that show that didn't make me mad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a ratings thing, period.
And it was also
and
acting, too.
Unfortunately, there were people that I thought that I respected that ended up getting involved in that totally just blew, I've got zero respect for them now.
Yeah.
Because they were involved in that just for the sake of being on TV.
Yep, and one of the guys, if you know, he recited his line from the Bible, and I guess it wasn't powerful enough, didn't have enough gusto, so he redid it again with more pizzazz and more emphasis. That was hilarious.
We're also talking about the same person who said you can't exorcise a house.
Oh, so you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yep. That was kind of interesting. But yeah, Paula was like, you leave the cross in there. You do not walk out with it. It stays with the house. Sure.
Well, and she's not wrong, at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did the Ouija board session and didn't close the Ouija board.
Right.
When they got done. They just got up and left.
Yeah, there was no goodbye.
I think, one of the things for me about this whole story that fascinates me, not the lying part of it, but the actual real person that this involved, is that he's still alive, and he doesn't talk about it. You know how much money this man could make if he came out?
Oh God, yeah.
And because everybody, I mean, his name is known now. It's not that hard to Google and find out what his real name is, and where he was last living. And we know that he worked for NASA. He got a patent for some plastic thing he invented.
Wow.
But this man has never discussed what happened.
Yeah. It kind of reminds you of the one guy, the kid back then, which is now a man, during the Amityville horrors.
Don't even get me started on Amityville. Don't. You do not want to get me started on Amityville.
Sure I do. I don't see it in the book.
Well, but if you read, I've got a chapter at the end of the book which explains why Amityville is not in there, because it's been proven. I mean, other people have documented that, this never happened. Now, the murders happened, of course. That guy was nuts.
Right.
But the people that supposedly bought the house and weren't even in it 10 days, that whole part of it has been proven completely fake.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the people that are still trying to make money off of that, I don't agree with that either. Tell the freaking truth.
Exactly. Well, then they won't be able to make money.
A lot of these stories, it's like with Bobby Mackey's, with the Pearl Bryan story, the real story is way more interesting than what some other book writer and Carl made up together, when they decided they were going to pretend Carl was possessed.
Yeah.
The real story, truth is always stranger than fiction. That is not a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the truth. Quit making this crap up. You could still get people in to pay money to investigate that place by telling the truth.
Maybe. But the whole thing with Carl supposedly being possessed is probably due to the high EMF from that huge transformer that's down in the basement.
And see, I would not argue with that because, there are people out there that will argue with me on whether EMF sickness is real or hypochondrial or whatever.
It is.
Unfortunately, I am one of those people that when you get me in a high EMF situation, I get physically ill.
Yeah.
I get migraines. I throw up. I, get really bad headaches, depending on how long I'm exposed to however high it is. So I've got absolutely zero problem believing that Carl was affected by EMF. And he was probably, may have had some kind of mental problems as well. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he was in a place that could have affected him physically.
Yeah.
And, it's like we always tell people, if you want to tell me EMF doesn't affect people, fine. But you explain to me why when David and I get a call to go out to a residential, and the guy tells us, in my bedroom, when I'm laying in my bed, I see shadows in the corner of the wall. I hear noises. When I go to sleep, I have really bad nightmares. I've been sleepwalking. You've got all these things. Do you know the first thing we do when we go into that house?
Look for
we do a
electrical
leak.
leak?
We do a reading of the... Huh?
Look for electrical leak?
Well, no, we do a reading of the clock that's sitting beside the bed. That is the very first thing we do.
Really?
Because we have found that, your average Walmart, Target, big box store, whatever, digital clock, when we take the EMF meter and read the clock, it will read a 60.
Wow.
Not 0.6, a 60 milligauss, okay?
Good Lord.
We pull it away from the clock, from the clock towards where his head is laying on his pillow next to this table that has the clock.
3.0?
It's still reading a 30.
Wow. Dang.
First thing we do is we tell him, move that clock. And give it a week. Tell me if you're still having problems. A week later, all the problems are gone.
Huh.
No nightmares, no sleepwalking, no seeing shadows in the corner. You going to tell me that the EMF's not affecting him?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not you, but you as in, people who don't believe in EMF.
Right, yeah. Well, I know it does because I can tell whenever we start feeling, kind of nauseous and lightheaded, we need to find out what is actually around us, if there's any, something with a power leak. Because when we went to Bobby Mackey's...
Well, it doesn't even have to be a power leak. It can just be something that's Here's a big tip. Baby white warmers will peg out your millimeter.
What?
Yep.
Do you hear that? That's interesting. Huh. I wonder what else pegs out a millimeter.
Fish tanks.
What?
Fish tanks. Old tube TVs.
Well,
we went into a house where they'd set up a game room with a big console tube TV. It was on one wall. The power meter in an uninsulated wall was on the other wall. And it had basically made a fear cage out of this kid's game room.
Oh, jeez.
Because tube TVs are horrible.
Oh, yeah, they are. You got those filament tubes
So
that runs the TV.
those are just some. It's things you don't think about. You're thinking logically. Power leaks. Go check the meter box. Go check. But you need to check actual things that when they're plugged in. Now, when they're unplugged, of course, they're not doing anything. But they're, when they're plugged in, they're emitting stuff.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind next time you do somewhere. Baby white warmers are horrible.
Oh, wow. What about baby monitors?
I haven't encountered a baby monitor. Now, the ones that they had back when I had my child, 25 years ago, were different, but we didn't have the millimeters back then. I think the ones they have now are a little different. I haven't actually gone into a home that had a baby monitor that showed us any reason for alarm.
Okay.
It was a baby light warmer.
Huh. Well, I know just recently we discovered something that was kind of bizarre. What was it that was the flashlight was affecting?
360.
Yeah.
Periscope 360.
An LED flashlight can actually trigger the Periscope 360, which is just a static detector.
Really? See, I don't buy into those that piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Because I know, I mean, walkie-talkies set all this crap up. So
Yeah.
if a walkie-talkie's going to set something off, I don't tend to have that piece of equipment in my equipment kit. But I will take your word for that.
Yeah. She was playing with it because she was like trying to light up this one area. And while she was playing with the flashlight, the 360 was going off. And I'm like, why is the 360 going off? She goes, I don't know. And she started moving the flashlight, and then the lights were actually going toward the same direction she was with the flashlight. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, that's what people don't take. I mean, it's a huge pet peeve of mine. You know, there is no piece of equipment out there for quote-unquote ghost hunting, and we all know how much I hate being called a ghost hunter. Most of all our stuff had an original purpose, and it wasn't ghost hunting.
Right.
And people do not take the time to learn what this piece of equipment was made for. The millimeter, okay? Very good example. An EMF detector has a real-world purpose. Electricians use them, right?
Yeah.
But a real EMF detector is a tri-axis machine. It's not a double axis, it's tri-axis, so that they can get a correct reading, because EMF doesn't only go in one direction.
Yeah, it's all the way around.
Well, when what's his name invented the millimeter
Gary
for
Galka.
ghost hunting.
Yeah.
Well, I try not to say names because I don't want people to get mad at me. But when the millimeter was invented for ghost hunting, and he put that ghost hunting label on it. This is what this is for. It's kind of like wedding stuff. You can charge more because it's for wedding. You can charge more because it's ghost hunting.
Right.
It is a single axis machine. It's not even a dual.
No.
Or a triple like it's supposed to be. It's only a single axis. So when you take an EMF reading with that thing, it means nothing unless you know you've got to turn that thing. You see these people on the TV shows walking around with it out in front of them, waving it around like a magic wand.
Right.
And it's like, you're not reading anything with that.
Nope.
At all whatsoever. If you're going to get a true reading, you take that machine, you set it down stable in front of what you're trying to read.
Yep.
Say the clock. Okay, you get that reading, then you turn it sideways and at least try to get a dual reading.
Right.
To make sure that it's telling you correct information. Walking around, waving it around doesn't tell you crap.
Yeah. Well, unless you have
and people don't, because they don't understand what the original purpose of this particular thing was.
Right. Well, unless you have the millimeter with the REM feature on it.
Well, I've got one of those, and I can make it go off with my walkie-talkie every time I key it.
Oh yeah, but we don't carry walkie-talkies with us. We were at the Bethlehem Academy just this past weekend, and we were in this library, and it was me and the camera guy, and I'm walking around with the Mel with the REM feature on it, with the antenna extended, and I'm getting.
Well, that's what you got to do for the REM thing. That's the one I've got.
Yeah, and I'm getting readings from Milligans. I mean, I'm up to like 3.0. And I'm like, okay, well, what's causing this? And then all of a sudden I go toward the corner of this room, and it's about probably the height of maybe a little child that's like hiding in the bookshelf. Then the REM started going off. Then I would move it, and it was like it was following me. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. But there was nothing there that would actually set that off. So I was kind of thinking, well, maybe there's something there that's actually detecting. I don't know. Went back later on that night, nothing. Which is really bizarre. Whatever it was actually disrupting the magnetic field of that antenna.
Well, and I'm not saying that piece of equipment does not work. I'm saying know how to use it.
Yeah. And of course, we still don't know what type of energy they really are. We're speculating and guessing that they're static or they're electric. We really don't know what type of energy spirits really are.
or what they pull from, you know,
Yeah.
not only what they give out, but what they pull from.
Yeah.
You know, it's the paranormal field is still always going to be somebody's opinion versus somebody else's opinion.
Right. Well, when they go ahead and
on
pull,
what you found or what you haven't found.
yeah. Well, when they pull from us, they're pulling, I'm assuming, magnetic. But then when they're pulling from our batteries, they're pulling electric.
And it's two different things.
Yeah, it is. So how can they actually have two of those things coexist into one energy?
I have no clue.
Me either.
That is not an answer I have.
Right? Yeah, I come up with questions like this.
I just know that, you know, I'm more about disproving. You know, I'm kind of like ghost hunters were when they first started.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really cool when that TV show came on. And those of us that had been investigating prior to that, you know, like me,
Right.
was like, oh, wow, this is really cool to see on TV. And you've actually got people that are going in trying to prove these houses are not haunted.
Yes.
And you end up, by the time the show is over, you've got Jason on camera standing there in an episode saying that they're capturing orbs that are being kicked up by the ghosts that are in the house. The ghosts are kicking up dust, which are making orbs.
Right.
He said that on that episode.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Because you're going to sit there and tell me ghosts are kicking up. Yeah, no. I mean, we all know that orbs, unless you see them with your own eyes, are an artifact of digital.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. You know, I got my first digital camera in the 90s and was really excited by all the stuff I was getting. I will be the first to admit.
Yeah.
I thought I had all these ghosts. But when digital camera companies are now putting in their instruction manual why you're getting orbs in your pictures, they're not ghosts. And there's nothing I hate more than being in an event and somebody coming up and showing me a cell phone picture saying, oh, look, I was in this hot tub. Look at all these ghosts around me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I came up with an
I'm
idea.
getting soapboxy.
Oh, that's all right. I came up with an idea. Like I told to our class at the seminar for Ghostology 101. I said, okay, first of all, an orb is going to be 99% dust, pollen, particles, moisture. It's never. You got 1% chance of actually capturing a real 100% orb. And I go, here's the deal. You're with a digital camera, infrared. You're going to pick up dust, and it's going to look like an orb. It's going to look huge because it also depends on how close it is to the lens of the camera. Now, if you want to see if you actually are capturing a real quote-unquote orb, use a standard video camera that cannot see in the dark. Because orbs provide their own illuminance. They will be bright.
And you can see them with your own eyes.
Yes.
I will always tell people, if you saw it with your own eye, then took a picture of it, then I might believe it. But if you're just videoing your cat playing around the house,
right,
and there's something following it around, not going to be a ghost.
Sometimes you can actually see dust with the naked eye, too. It depends if your eyes are watery.
Well, yeah, or if the light's hitting it right.
Yep.
Yeah, my favorite are the ones who try to say that, because we've got security cameras outside our house, and they're both infrared.
Yep.
And so, when it gets dark, they're filming in night vision.
Right.
And, we get the bugs that come along, and you get the ones that look like fairies, because the camera captured it just right when it snapped the picture or whatever. I love people trying to tell me those are actual ghosts.
No, they're fairies.
Ghost, fairies, vortexes,
Lord.
I don't deal with, that's one reason, the book you're talking about is actually my second book. My first book was How Not to Be a Ghost Hunter.
Yeah, I got to get that one.
And, that's basically, that's a class we taught down here in Atlanta. And it's basically explaining to people you cannot watch a ghost hunting show and go out and investigate and know what you're doing.
Right.
And, so we were given this class, and this was back before, I was made to start learning how to do PowerPoints. I had written up this little manual for people in the class to follow along with, right? Mm-hmm. And a couple people got a hold of it and said, you really need to publish this as a book. And I was like, you think?
It's like, okay.
Well, I was like, okay, But the bad part about it was when I made the workbook for the class, I pulled all these internet memes and put them in there and, found all these pictures I could use as examples and put them in that. And when you go to publish your own book, you can't use those things.
Why not?
So I was, because they're copyrighted. Somebody else made that meme. Somebody else took that photograph. So I can't put it in a published book that I'm selling for money.
That's true.
And I was trying to do photos to show people what hair looks like, what camera straps look like,
right,
what messed up exposures look like. I could get all those really well, but when we investigate, we use a Nikon D7000.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good camera.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
So it's impossible to get orbs with a D7000. It's impossible. We went down in our basement. We've got an unfinished basement, and part of it behind the stairs that come down to the basement is actually dirt. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a cinder block wall that's got dirt on it. So we were down there. We were kicking up dirt. I was shaking dust mops. I was squirting water in there, and this camera would not give me an orb.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty good filter.
Yeah, so what I ended up having to do was go back on my computer and my files from my, Kodak, one of my first digital cameras from the 90s that I still had the pictures for that had tons of orbs in them, and pull those photos off, actually put them in the book to show the comparisons that I was trying to do. Mm-hmm. So when I published that book, it's supposed to be funny. It's, lessons that we have learned over the years, and including the embarrassing story of how I learned that my walkie-talkie sets off the REM pod in my millimeter.
Oh, yeah.
The orb thing, how to do pre-investigative research, so that's how that book came out. And I actually got to sit down and talk with Grant Wilson. Mm-hmm. And he loved the book. It was after I had published the second book, The Paranormal Folklore. Right. And he read both of them, and he asked me if I could have copies, and he told me after he read the ghost hunting book, he's like, this is what I want everybody to know. And he loved that book so much that he actually wrote the recommendation for the Paranormal Folklore book when I was trying to get into the local library system.
Oh, wow.
Because he's like, this is what we started out doing. This is not what we ended up doing. This is what I want people to know. And that meant a lot to me. Yeah. Because I respect Grant. And he's an awesome guy to hang out with. And when he told me that I had written what he wanted everybody to read, I was like, well, that's really cool. Y'all buy my book.
Right? All right. Well, on that note, we are actually at our halftime. So we're going to need to go ahead and take about a 6-minute break here. And then we can continue talking about Grant. So we are talking to Shannon Bradley Byers, the paranormal genealogist. And we will be right back. And we can continue talking to her about Grant. And then we're going to get into some stories of her orb that she actually calls Sir Nigel. And, of course, we'll probably talk about more kilts. I don't know. But we'll be right back.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. Separated. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting's hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't? Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No.
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Phantasmic Journey Podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studios. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Paula Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. then you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon. Your journey begins now.
All right, and welcome back to the Phantasmic Journey podcast. And our guest, she is a genealogist, a historian with 35 years of experience who frequently helps with their family research and has worked with multiple historical societies transcribing old documents. Her first book, How Not to Be a Ghost Hunter, which was published in 2016, and her second book, The Paranormal Fake Lore Nevermore, Real Histories of Haunted Locations, was published in 2017. Welcome back, Shannon. How are we doing?
We're good. I'm still here. I'm still awake. I'm way past my bedtime, and I'm still up. So.
That's past my, well, not past my bedtime. It's only 9:10.
Well, it's 10:10 for me, and I normally go to bed at 8. So.
Oh.
You caught me on a good night.
But we're having fun, right?
Of course, we are.
We haven't really got
I
into
would have
the...
hung up during the break if I wasn't. It'd be go, Shannon, where are you? Shannon, come back. Shannon.
Right? Oh, man.
There's no men in kilts around me now, so you're safe.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, you'd have been totally distracted and you'd be like, huh? What? Who? Huh?
Yep, yep.
I'll be right back.
What's funny about, that bio, when I wrote the second book, I wasn't real thrilled with the bio I'd written for my first book. I don't like writing about myself.
Okay.
When somebody says, write something about yourself, that's kind of hard to do, unless you're like totally narcissistic, and I'm not. So
right.
Writing about myself is kind of weird. So I did this thing when I wrote the second book. I'm like, I put it out on social media. I was like, if you were going to write a biography about me, what would you say? Right. And whichever one I like best is what's going to make it into the bio section of Paranormal Fake Lore.
Yep.
So I had, several people who would give me some one-liners, but I'm like, I'm not looking for one-liners. So one of my friends, Steve Foster, he actually wrote the bio that I used in the book, and he's the one who put all the kilts in. So
yep.
I didn't do
told
that
me.
myself. It's true, 100% true.
Yeah.
But he's the one that wrote that for me, so I cannot take credit. He gets all the credit for that because I laugh my butt off every time I read it. I was like, this is me to a T.
Yeah.
I could not have done this any better myself.
Yeah, he put a little comment on there. Did you see it?
Yeah. And that's what I was looking for, because when I was writing my own, I found I was getting too serious.
Right.
And I don't know why. I mean, I can be completely unserious about anything else I write, but when it came down to, what do I think people want to know about me, I started getting, academical.
Right.
I was like, I don't want to tout all these things that I've done all these years. I want people to see the real me. And what better to do that than to have somebody else tell me how they see me. So that's how that came about.
Right. All right, so I've been kind of digging into your book here in the very, very back, and I'm noticing that you did a short little, more like a cliff note, on Sloss Furnace.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered how anybody can actually go ahead and do an investigation there when it's all out in the open, major audio contamination. I mean, how can you actually get a successful EVP at that location?
Well, for me, it's not even so much that. You've got all the people that are going there under false pretenses, looking for people who didn't exist there, didn't die there, and that's my thing. You don't go into a location trying to ask EVP questions from people who never existed.
Right.
You're not going to get a whole lot, contaminated or not. You're still not going to get a lot. I've been by there a million times. I've never actually stopped to go in there because I wasn't going to give them my money.
Right.
But you're right. There is it's on the side
of a highway. Yeah.
20 is a major interstate that runs through Georgia and Alabama, and it sits there right on the side of it.
Yeah, I know.
Not to all the other industrial buildings and, shopping centers and stuff that are around it. Outdoor investigations in a place like that, I don't understand why people even try.
Exactly.
But, they've bought the story, hook, line, and sinker, that, this evil foreman made these people die, and, so they're going to go look for it.
Well, the only one I ever heard of was the guy that got crushed.
Well, the guy, the Richard Jowers,
Uh-huh.
that they say is the one that supposedly died there.
He's the one that doesn't have a head.
Richard Jowers was a real man. They call him Theo at Sloss. They don't even give him the right name.
Okay.
There was another furnace on the other side of town where a man named Richard Jowers died.
Ah.
Not connected to Sloss at all. Well, what happened, there was a woman in Alabama who was a folklorist, and she would write books, about history stuff around, the Birmingham area over there. And she wrote a book that made up a whole bunch of stuff. She's the one who kind of mixed up the Richard and turned him into Theo, and, Slag Wormwood, was made up for a Halloween tour.
Right.
That man never existed. So, why are you going into this place trying to talk to him? He's not real.
Well, like we stated
It's
earlier, whenever someone creates a story, it becomes press. It's in the newspapers. It's in the magazines. It's word of mouth. It's spread. So a lot of people are actually taking it as true.
Okay, raise your hand. Who knows what the well to hell on Bobby Mackey's really is? And you can't answer if you've read the book.
Well, I already knew. We talked about this a long time ago when I first met you.
Yeah.
So I already knew that.
First of all, and I'm you have to understand, Pearl, I think I must have been Pearl in another life as much as her story affects me.
Right.
Because, she I have loved true crime as long as I have loved ghosts. I mean, I started reading about Lizzie Borden when I was 8 years old, along with the ghost stuff.
Right.
The Pearl O'Brien murder was my second true crime that I fell in love with. And, so when I saw the Ghost Adventures episode that started talking about her head being cut off because of a satanic cult and thrown down the well to hell and the slaughterhouse, and I'm sitting here and I'm watching this show, and I'm like, what the hell? Where did y'all get this information?
Right.
And that's kind of what started me on the debunking the famous haunted locations, because I'm like, if you're going to lie about this, which other ones are you lying about?
Make it believable.
And the building where Bobby Mackey's is now, that building, there was never a slaughterhouse right there, ever. Right. Ever. In the history of the property, there was never a slaughterhouse there. When Pearl O'Brien died, it was a working whiskey distillery.
The old 76er.
Yep.
Yep.
The well to hell was actually one of 3 tunnels that was dug with the permission of the railroad underneath the railroad from the distillery to the Licking River so that they could pump water in from the river for the distilling process.
Right.
There were 3 tunnels, not one well to hell. And, who's going to cut off somebody's head and walk into a whiskey distillery and throw it down the viaduct that goes over to the Licking River? I
right.
mean, you really think that's going to happen?
Nope.
But no, everybody's convinced, who doesn't do the research. Now, I will say, I've got people that I respect that have been and have investigated and agree with me that is the quietest place they've ever been in.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing ever happens.
Mm-hmm. I can vouch for that, too. I was actually
and
bored.
they're making money hand over fist pulling people in, saying that Pearl's head was cut off because of a satanic ritual, when there were no satanic cults in Wilder, Kentucky, which was, Finchtown back then, at the time this happened. So, no. But, again, they're still making money hand over fist.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Let's see. I see the thing about that. But it's just so funny when people actually go in there. They're saying that they're feeling they're being possessed at the portal to hell.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You're psychological.
Well, it's because Zach Baggins told them. And everybody knows that Zach Baggins would not lie.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Wedding DJ himself, you know, would not tell anybody a lie. You know, this is the guy who, okay, when Ghost Adventures first started, what did the intro to his show say? I never believed in ghosts until I had an experience as an adult.
Until he came face to face with one.
Yeah, as an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
What does the intro to the show say now? That he's believed in ghosts since he was a little kid.
Yeah, yeah. Ever since I was a little boy. Yeah.
You know, and people don't catch this discrepancy.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Is it just, he decided to come out of the closet and admit he's always believed because that'll make him more believable.
Well, also, I don't know if you caught this too, but he also stated that when he was little, he was also collecting haunted items as well.
Yeah, that he didn't believe in, evidently.
Yeah, and now he has an entire museum.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and now his entire art site's been ruined by the poor demon house in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, when we get him on the show, we got a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, can I be in on that when that happens, please?
Sure.
I'll give you $1 if you let me be in on that one.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
I just, you know, the documentary, when they first started, again, going back to their grassroots, the documentary that they did.
That was awesome.
Was good.
Yeah.
I loved that documentary. And then he just got stupid. But, you know, but people buy into it. He's making money hand over fist.
Yeah, well, it's more like he went Hollywood. I mean, because when they got into like season...
Oh, no, it's because he's possessed. You know it's because he's possessed.
Yeah.
He didn't go Hollywood, he's possessed.
Well,
you know, he must have hooked up with the Exorcist boy and learned how to,
right?
trick people.
Well, no, I was basically saying, like, when they got to like season 5, season 6, he started changing his outfits, and he was kind of getting dressed up more like he's going out on a Hollywood set. That's what I'm talking about, where he just started going Hollywood. But yeah, I mean, he's always not feeling like himself. He's always feels possessed. Dude, what's wrong with you? You don't look right. You know.
I'm about to kill you. I need to go outside and get some air. You stay here.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yep. Oh, man. There's no telling how many cameras he destroyed from beating them up.
Oh, somebody's always going to give him money to buy a bigger and better one.
Probably.
You know, he's one of these. That show is a classic example of how people don't understand how IR cameras work and how you can yourself physically manipulate a shadow that nobody can see you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way the camera angle is placed. Because people don't, I mean, that IR light, I mean, you know, because you do camera work and stuff, so I'm preaching to the choir here, but,
no.
you can stand off to the side of that IR light and throw your own shadow.
Yep.
And nobody can see you doing it, and you filmed it.
Yeah, yeah.
But people don't understand. It's just like setting your REM pod off with your walkie-talkie.
Oh, yeah.
People don't understand that these are para-entertainment shows, and they're not real. And again, that's why the How Not to Be a Ghost Hunter book came out, because people will sit. I mean, good Lord, how many paranormal groups popped up after Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures became popular.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody and their brother was out there, we're going to go investigate this place because we've watched the show and we know how to do it. We went to the ghost hunting store and we bought all this equipment that we have no idea what it does, and we're going to go out. And the dangerous thing about that, because anybody who's listening has to understand, I believe in ghosts. I believe in hauntings.
Right.
They do exist. I am a skeptical believer. I'm going to come into your house first. I'm going to put colored water flavoring in your toilet to see if you've got any plumbing problems. I am going to bring string. I am going to bring levels. I am going to bring ribbon to hang up. I'm going to explain to you how having the flue open in your fireplace can make a door on the other part of your house shut before I'm going to believe there's a ghost in your house.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we always go ahead and bring that up when we talk about ghostology, and we'll be like, okay, we're going to talk about vacuum. What do you think causes a vacuum? And people are sitting out there going, I don't know. Let's see. You're in a hallway. You have one door that's shut, or you have one door that's open. You shut the other door. That one's going to slam shut. It's not paranormal. It's just a vacuum. Same thing with a window, blinds.
And fireplaces are a big culprit. People never consider their fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
Even if the flue is shut, if you've got a windstorm going on outside, you've still got enough coming down because that flue's never going to seal completely.
Mm-hmm.
You've still got enough draft coming down that chimney to pull a door closed in another part of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't get that. They just see this stuff on TV and think they can go into someone's home. And if they go into someone's home that's actually got a real problem that needs to be solved, you know, a real paranormal problem,
Yep.
they've screwed these people up.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because they've stirred up stuff, they've given attention to this whatever may be there, and then they just leave.
Yeah.
There's no aftercare.
Well, there was this one guy that contacted me, and this is true. A team came in because he was experiencing weird things. They would actually see shadows or a shadow in the pantry. The door would shut, cabinet doors would open, all that stuff. He went ahead and went out and bought himself cameras to put inside the house. But it wasn't recording anything. So it's like whatever it was a smart entity, knew that he had cameras. He wasn't, and it wasn't going to perform. So
and we all know how that works because you don't get your activity until you set the freaking cameras off.
Right. And then he brings in a team. And they go in there and they go ahead and set their cameras up and this and that. And they basically told the guy, well, we're going to need about $350 so we can go ahead and get better video equipment so we can evaluate your evidence or data. And then they left.
And never came back.
Right. They never came back. And they still have the problem to this day. So, yeah.
I can't, you know, there are people out there that do have real problems in their homes.
Yeah.
And they're getting stuck with these TV wannabe people who don't know what they're doing. Now, I am not going to sit here and claim I know 100% of everything that's going on in your house.
Right.
I have been into houses and have run up into weird things that, you know, yes, I'm going to come back, but, you know, I haven't asked you for any money, so you're not out anything.
Right.
You know, I've got to do some more research. I need to look at a few other things. I need to look at our film. I need to listen to our audio, you know, to try to figure out. And I will be back. And I do always go back. It may take a little while.
Yeah.
But the poor people aren't out any money because, you know, we have never taken a dime for an investigation.
Yeah.
You know, we've had people that have offered to, you know, if it, you know, our thing used to be we would go in a 4-hour driving radius of Atlanta, which hits most of South Carolina, part of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. We can't get down to Florida in 4 hours. And, you know, we have had people that would, you know, that were desperate enough, you know, say, you know, can we get you a hotel room? You know, or can we buy you dinner? You know, that I don't turn down.
Right.
But I am not taking money to go in and try to prove something that's, you know, it's not really provable. I can tell you my opinion of what's going on in your house or not going on in your house. But, you know, it's not like something you can give a money back guarantee on. So anybody who takes money for this stuff, you're on my shit list.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing is you got these wannabe demonologists, the people that actually get their certificate and they think that they are demonologists, and they actually go into a residential house that's actually having a demonic infestation, which I really believe is not a demonic infestation because they're rare, in other words. And
you know what most demonic infestations are?
They're self-inflicted?
Well, no, I wouldn't go in there.
Oh, okay.
A really good example of somebody thinking they have a demonic infestation is when they have water hammer. Have you ever been in a home, stayed somewhere, or even in your own home, because we had this problem in our house.
Uh-huh.
We had a situation, and it ended up actually being the septic tank, because when we got it pumped, it stopped. But 3 o'clock in the morning, the ice maker would fill up, and every wall in the house would sound like somebody was trying to beat it down. And when you're woken up by that at 3 o'clock in the morning, the last thing you're thinking is water hammer. The first thing you're thinking is either A, somebody physical was trying to tear my house down and get in here and kill me, or we have demons. That's usually where people's minds go.
Yeah.
They don't ever think about the plumbing. And water hammer, I mean, it took us years to figure out it was the septic tank. I can't tell you how many times we got woken up in the middle, because we checked every pipe in the house and could not figure out what was going on. We could tell when we were in the basement kind of what area it was coming from. But I'm not a plumber. My husband's not a plumber. So, you know, when we finally got the septic tank pump, I think it took us about a month and a half to figure out it had stopped. Because we were so used to it. But that's the thing. I always tell people, okay, yes, you could have had a legitimate paranormal experience in your house, but once that happens to a person, everything that happens around them is paranormal, and they quit looking for the logical explanations.
Right. You always got to figure out what the normal is before it is considered paranormal. We basically refuse to go, well, I mean, I wouldn't say we refuse, we just choose not to go to residential houses because we're not versed in residentials. The one things is we really don't know. I mean, you know how to cleanse, right, Paula? Yoo-hoo. Talking to you. What's that, small?
A little.
Okay.
I don't know how to do a full-fledged cleansing.
Okay.
I know how to cleanse our house, but I wouldn't trust myself going into somebody else's house and trying to cleanse it.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. There's a prime example.
I don't have enough confidence in myself.
That's something I can do. But I've got to be convinced that your house actually needs it.
Right.
Well, we bring home attachments from other investigations.
Yeah, we do.
Well, you know, I had said, you had made a post, and I can't remember if it was this year or last year.
Was it
where
good
you
or
were
bad?
talking about where you weren't going to be doing residentials anymore.
Yeah.
And I had come along and I'd made a comment that, you know, these people really need help. And it was really sad that so many of us, because everybody's getting away from residential. And that I was going to continue because there were people out there that really needed help. Well, this year I've gotten to y'all's point. We're not doing residentials anymore. Number one, you never know if you're going to show up at the house and it's actually going to be a block party, because it's cool to have a ghost hunter in your house.
Yep.
Number two, it got to the point, you know, my thing was always, okay, if you're experiencing these things, I would insist on talking to them on the phone. And I could normally tell by talking to someone if they're actually scared, if they're actually convinced something's going on in their house. Now, whether it turned out to be real or not, but these people actually believed it. So I was having to differentiate between the people who thought it'd be cool to be able to tell all their friends, you know, the paranormal team came out, or if they actually needed help. And, you know, those are getting less and less. And, you know, I've just gotten where, you know, we're sticking with, you know, either historical locations or, you know, we've got a good relationship with the Department of Natural Resources here in Georgia, where they call us out to do things, because they know we keep our mouth shut. If they asked us to come in, it's not something they necessarily want the public to know.
Right.
Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. But we have gotten a good enough reputation to where they know we're not going to talk about this place if they haven't given us permission to do so.
Right.
And, so we're sticking with places like that. I'm done with residential. And I hate it because there's people that do need help, but I can't do it anymore. I got to the place that y'all got to.
Yeah, it's become an entertainer factor.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the sad thing is, we've been taken advantage of a few times. That's another reason why we don't want to do residentials, is because they sent me a picture, and it was of a man with no head, and he's standing in the entryway of a room. And then they proceed to tell me a story that they did research on it, and they found out that this guy was sick in the head, took a shotgun, and blew his head off. And he basically haunts the house, and they actually captured him, and they sent me a picture of it. I showed it to Paula. I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to check this out? She said, sure. So we went all the way up to Grandview, Indiana, and we met the couple. Red flags started flying when one of them asked, she goes, are you going to go ahead and interview us? Where would you like to interview us at? A good setting would be in the living room. So that was kind of red flag number one right there. I wouldn't say that there isn't anything there. I mean, something is definitely there because Paula was up in the second floor, and I created, I call it the paranormal triangle. I had devices all around her in the shape of a triangle, and she was in the center. She started reciting the Lord's Prayer, and the devices were going off. The obvious was saying stuff like harvest, Satan, slaughter, a whole bunch of stuff. But come to find out, I gave that picture because I was kind of, starting to think about it a little bit deeper. I gave it to a friend of mine, and he's like, dude, I've seen that picture before. You can actually get that from a ghost app for iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually did this thinking that we're going to go ahead and put them in an episode on our show. And then other people were doing the same thing. They're like, when you investigate our house.
I swear that photo is not altered. I didn't do anything to it.
Well, the bad part is the husband's a cop.
Crap.
The husband's a cop. That's what really threw it for a loop. We wouldn't believe a cop would lie.
I had one who called me last year, and I was actually getting excited about this one because it's a house that was 4 houses up from the house I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So very familiar with the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We moved there in 1976. So, I spent my entire childhood through graduation, up until I got married, in that neighborhood. I'd been in and out of that house several times.
Mm-hmm.
Never noticed anything weird growing up. Well, these people were convinced that they had a demon in their attic and a Confederate soldier that would come and fry bacon at their stove.
And you're like, hey, I've been through here before. How come you didn't fry any bacon for me?
This woman sent me 6 hours of... She had a camera, set up in her kitchen. Right. I still haven't figured out people who set up cameras in the house, but...
You mean stage them?
She had a camera set up in the house, and off to the side of the camera, you could just see a little corner of it.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't hide it quite well enough, was a fish tank, which, when you're looking at it or listening to it on the video,
mm-hmm.
could sound like bacon frying. Maybe,
the filter,
if you stretch your imagination.
Yeah.
But she convinced me if I would sit and watch this video, but she would never tell me where in the video. So I sit and watch this thing, right?
6 hours.
So then she starts telling me about 6 hours. Then she starts telling me about the demon in the attic. And the more she tells me, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you don't have a demon in your attic. One of my first jobs, I've got an entomology degree. And one of my, I worked in pest control for years and years and years and years. And I told her, I said, they were finding stuff, tipped over, ripped apart. They put their wrapping paper up there and find it in shreds and piles and, And I told her, at this particular time of the year, I think it was March or April, and she said, there's something walking around up there that stomps. And it's only at night, and it's boom, 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 boom. It sounds like it's coming through the ceiling. And I told her, I said, honey, okay, I'm going to tell you, as a person who has, spent a good portion of her life in pest control when she was younger, you've got a pregnant raccoon in your attic who's nesting.
Oh, I was going to say a possum, but okay.
Pregnant raccoons get very heavy. And that is the time of the year that they start their nesting. They tear up the insulation. They tear up anything made out of paper. When they're running around up there, they'll knock over your furniture. And they will also chew through your wires and cause your house to burn down.
Oh, shit.
Right? So I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, we've been talking on Facebook Messenger and we had switched to texting. And, I talked to her on the phone. And, we had set up for me to come out there, and I told her, I said, it's going to take me exactly 30 seconds to climb up your attic stairs and tell you you've got a raccoon nesting in your attic. And this is when she cut off, she said, I don't need your negativity.
Oh, shit. Hmm.
And she cut off, she blocked me on the phone, she blocked me on Messenger on Facebook, and refused to talk to me anymore. And me, I don't always have to have the last word. I mean, sometimes I will let other people have the last word just so people can see how stupid they are.
Yeah.
But in this case, I emailed her. I told her, I says, I'm really sorry that, you don't want to find out the real answer. It would have taken me, just a second. I'd have done it for free, gone up there, told you had this problem, told you who you need to contact to get, rid of it, what you need to do to keep this rodent out of your house. And, I feel really sorry for your children that you're willing to risk burning down your house and killing them rather than say that you faked the story.
Yeah.
And, that was kind of the start of the end. That's what I call my bacon frying ghost story.
Bacon frying demon in the attic story.
It's I have a meme I post every once in a while. It's a picture of a raccoon who said something about, did somebody say bacon? Which I thought was really funny because it related to that. But, this is the kind of thing that we're running into as serious paranormal investigators that are making us not want to help people.
Yeah, because you're getting lied to.
And that's one thing I can't stand. I mean, tell me the truth all day long. I'll bet, and I sound like my mama when I say this. I can take the truth way better than I can take a lie.
Yeah.
And once I find out you've lied to me, that's it. You're cut off. I'm not dealing with you anymore.
Yeah.
But it really frightened me because her kids were little. They were like, 18 months and 4, I think.
Oh, wow.
And she was willing to put her kids in danger rather than admit she didn't have a ghost. And I'm just like, I can't be part of this anymore. I just can't. I'm sticking with historical places.
Yeah. And I sure as heck ain't going to go up there and get my eyes gouged out. Nope.
Well, I mean, it really would have taken me 30 seconds. Pulling down the attic stairs and walking up them with my flashlight. I've still got the pest control skills. I can tell you if it, now if I got up there and there was a demon waiting for me, well, that would have been my bad. But I would have bet the rest of the paychecks for the rest of my life it was a pregnant raccoon.
Yeah, there's a demon up there waiting for you. Be like, hang on a sec, I will be right back. My bad.
I was wrong. I mean, you had my soul. I was wrong.
Oh, man, because I actually did kind of go through something similar to that in Nashville. There was a lot of noise going up in the attic, and I've seen a lot of horror movies. All of a sudden, you go ahead and open up the attic thing, you climb up. Next thing you know, there goes your head. So, I kid you not, I was actually climbing up the ladder with 2 big knives on the side of my head. So, if anything's going to swing, they're going to hit the knives first.
Oh, please tell me Paula took pictures of that.
This is before we got together.
No, this is before we got together. This was with my ex. And, no.
I'd have paid $1 to see that.
It's the most dumbest thing I've ever done. And I go up there, and I'm looking around, and I got these knives up here, and I'm like, I can't see squat because I'm holding these knives, and I ain't moving.
Well, see, that leads to another thing. That's another part, the safety part that I've got in the Ghost Hunter book. Things people don't realize. You walk up into somebody's attic, number one, you don't know how the flooring is.
Right.
Number two, you don't know how many nails are sticking out of the roof joists. Number three, you don't know how many wasp nests are up there.
Ugh.
And, I have to carry an EpiPen because I'm allergic to stinging insects. I really don't want to stab a rusty nail into my head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fall through somebody's ceiling.
Right.
And, people don't, they just charge ahead and don't. It's like, okay, when you do an outside investigation, say you're doing ruins somewhere, okay, and you're out of civilization, all right, and I say this with, a particular place in mind that we've gone to that's 2 miles in the national forest.
Okay.
That is haunted. And, there's old ruins there, and, people think about snakes.
Well, yeah.
They don't think about tripping over ruins that maybe you can't see because they're overgrown, because, oh my God, you have to do it at night. You can't possibly do it during the daytime.
Right.
But the one thing they don't ever think about? Ticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody ever thinks about ticks when they're doing outside investigations. And, it's sad because Lyme disease is no joke. The first boy I ever kissed died 3 years ago from Lyme disease.
Oh, damn.
And people don't think about that. They don't think, let's throw a bandana on our head. Yes, it's hot, but let's wear long sleeves. Let's cover ourselves in DEET, because of the ticks.
Yeah.
You don't want to die doing this.
Right.
People will go to a house and they'll show up at night and they won't get there during the daytime so that they can see if they need to run screaming out of the house for whatever reason.
Right.
What piles of crap people have in their yards that they're going to trip over when they're trying to run away.
Oh, yeah.
They just show up at the house and think, oh, here we are. We're going to set up all this wonderful, colorful equipment.
Yeah.
And,
well, one of the things
we're not really going to do anything.
Yeah, one of the things that we go ahead and discuss when we're doing our Ghostology 101, we always bring up the fact that when you go to a location, always make special note of your surroundings. Make a special note of the hazards. Like when we went to a place called Carter's Mill, there were the trees that were actually been cut down, but they're still spiky.
Mm-hmm.
You can be impaled on it. So make a special note of the area you're going to be going to in the dark, so that way oh, hey, I got a duck here because there's a metal shard sticking out of the wall, or there's wires all over the place. You got to make special note of this during the day before you even attempt to go in at night. Otherwise, you're really, really going to hurt yourself. And the reason why I say this, you go to Hales Bar Dam.
It's happened to you.
Yeah, if you go to Hales Bar Dam, there are holes in the floor. You don't watch where you're going, your foot's going to go through the hole, and you're going to break it.
And when you're walking around in the dark with your camera, you're focusing on what's in front of you and what's not down at your feet, you're going to end up injured. You know, if you run and get into a dude run situation, you need to know, it's just like going to a restaurant and knowing where all your exits are in case of somebody decides to come in and shoot it up. You know?
Right.
It's the same kind of danger.
Yeah.
And, people just, oh, God. I just want to smack them sometimes.
Well, I made my mistake. We were at the Farrar Elementary School, and everybody razzes me on this, but it wasn't my fault. Our special guest investigator, Craig Nearing, was using my camera, and he was filming me and Cheryl Fletcher doing an EVP session using an RTC box, and we had the Eddie sitting in a corner where there's this long hallway, and she was basically talking about the principal and the janitor, and we were getting just activity left and right. A lot of devices going off. The thermal was picking stuff up. Well, he decided to sit down on a bucket, and he's, filming us, and the Eddie's starting to light up blue. The little ticker's starting to move. We're showing that something's walking down the hall. Well, then he gets on up to come around to the other side to get a better angle. I'm standing next to this big, huge metal door. On the other side of that door is a catwalk, and they're saying that strange things happen in there, and they hear a lot of weird noises going on the other side of that door. Well, I'm using my camera, and I'm getting a different angle as he's getting a different angle, and all of a sudden, boom, like that, real loud. Sounded like it came from behind me on the other side of that metal door. I run forward, not knowing that there is a 5-gallon bucket full of tar on the floor. Pow! My shin slammed into that thing.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, they laugh at me. They're like, oh, I know you're hurting, but that was funny as hell.
Well, we all make mistakes like that. I mean, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
We'll get to a location and, realize, oh, crap, we forgot to do whatever.
Yep.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
But at least have the general knowledge when you go in, and at least know when you watch these TV shows, you're not seeing the setup. You're not seeing the walkthroughs.
Right.
They'll do the interviews with people and walk through, but you're not seeing what they're really looking for.
Right.
Escape route being number one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you because you never know. You could run into a wasp nest in the attic, and you need to know how to get out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
You could run into a really mean ghost and need to get out of the house. It happens.
Or make your own door.
Yeah. It'd be like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something like that.
Pow! Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, like you just stated, they don't show you all that stuff. But I'm not going to do a shameless plug here, but I might as well. When you watch our show, we show from the arrival to setting to unloading to setting up, the walkthrough,
you show
the
all
interview,
the boring stuff.
Show it all, and then boom, investigation. We show it from the ground up, what actually happens during a real, legitimate paranormal investigation. None of this stuff where you have a B crew that already set the stuff up, and then you can just waltz on the set. Oh, I'm going to hook up this one little camera. Yay, I'm done, yeah. No, we do it all, and we show it all.
What I really wish you'd show, though, and if you've done it, I mean, I will admit I haven't seen all the episodes yet. I have watched some of them.
Yeah.
I would, because I know Paula's a historian.
Yep.
I would really like you to show that part of it, because that part is extremely important.
What do you mean by that?
Before you even get to the location.
Oh, you mean that we're talking about it while we're driving?
No, the actual research into the location.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like
historical research.
Yeah, kind of like doing a B-roll of her or doing research, in other words.
Yeah, go into the libraries, looking. I mean, because I'm going to guess. We haven't talked, so I don't know if we research the same way. But going to the archives and going through the microfilm and looking at old newspapers that haven't been digitized. A lot of stuff you can find online.
Yeah.
Yes, because they are starting to get more newspapers and stuff digitized in certain places.
Yep.
Our county where we live, unfortunately, the Historical Society is run by people who don't live in the digital age because they're also old.
Right.
So I still have to go to the library and load up the microfilm machine and look at the old newspapers. Or go to the archives and dig through the files, or go to the courthouse and, the land deed books. When you're researching land deeds, which is mind-numbingly boring.
Oh, God, yes. She does that.
I would like to see y'all do something, incorporate something like that shows even more of the pre-run-in on what you're doing. That shows there is more. I mean, because how many, on some locations, that we do, I know I do research for 2 or 3 months before we ever set foot on the property, just so that I can get a background on the town and the land deeds. And, oh my God, land deeds are when you're looking at Gavin, have you ever looked at a land deed that was written in the 1800s?
Yes. Oh, I've showed him one.
Oh, God, yeah. I've seen these things. Okay. I'm like, who the hell, right?
Okay.
How can you read that?
Okay. All right. You've got 50 chains to the Big Rock. East of the Big Rock, you've got 60 chains to the walnut tree. And then east of that, you've got 40 chains to the next big rock. In the 1800s, they assumed those rocks and trees were always going to be there. So you cannot correlate it to now, because those big rocks and that big black walnut tree was cut down because they got hit by lightning.
I got one better than that one. I did research on my old neighborhood growing up, just for the heck of it, because I had heard legends, but nothing like majorly haunted or anything. But I heard legends of people owning this property and that property. I was like, okay, we'll get into it to figure out what was going on. And, of course, in a roundabout way, kind of find out my old house that I sat on, kind of find out it was an unidentified cemetery pretty well much in my backyard. But on that note...
And see, now you know how to find those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I found out there was old church records that were there was a church there at one time, and I ended up having to find the preacher that ran that church, who had family members that kept all the old church records. So sometimes you have to go that route too.
Yeah. And see, that I would find that stuff in an episode interesting. For people to see, what you actually do into the lead up before you go do the investigation. Because, I mean, being a historian, that stuff to me is fascinating. And, it wouldn't have to be a whole lot, but, show the time spent doing that kind of legwork kind of adds a legitimacy to what, and I'm not saying y'all are not legit, so don't take that the wrong way, but it kind of shows, you're putting more of your heart and soul into actually trying to figure out what's going on with this place than, just driving and showing up. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's something I personally would like to see a show do. I know, what is that? Kindred Spirits with Amy Bruni and Adam
Berry, yeah.
I know, that those shows had gotten to where they would actually show them going to the library, kind of like Steve does on Dead Files.
Right.
Where he goes and he talks to the, head of the Historical Society, but unfortunately that stuff is faked too, because they made the mistake of doing a location I know very well and know the history of 100% because I grew up there. And they totally took history from another town and applied it to this town.
Oh, jeez.
But if you did it right, you could still make it look interesting. You just don't have to be a lot of it. That's something I would like to see included in what y'all do.
Okay. Well, we will actually probably take a look at that and see how that works. But thanks for the advice. And right now we're coming toward the end of the show.
We're done.
Yeah. So now you get to tell everybody where they can find you. If you're doing any new events, writing a new book, looking to do debunking more locations in the future, the floor is yours.
They can find me at any Celtic festival where there's many kilts. I'm usually hiding out somewhere in the mountains of North Carolina. That's where we go to get away. Mm-hmm. I don't have any events scheduled at the moment. We just got done with Scarefest, and I've kind of, we were doing Dragon Con and Scarefest, and it got to be too much to do both of them, and Dragon Con was just so big.
Right.
That we opted to scale down for Scarefest, but I've been invited to a couple of upcoming events next year. I haven't decided if I'm going to do them or not, because they're really small. So don't have any events coming up. I do have a list of maybe volume 2 of Paranormal Folklore.
Cool.
One of the big ones that's going to be in there is going to be King's Tavern, because that place, that's a big Ghost Adventures episode thing that they do. All the stuff there that they tell you is wrong. A blank.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I do have a list. I just have to find time to write. And I did 2 books in 9 months, and that wore me out. And I was like, no, I'm taking some time off. So if they want to find me, they can find me on Facebook under Shannon Bradley Byers. Send me a friend request. I talk to everybody, unless you try to add me to a group without asking me, and then I delete you.
Right?
Paranormal Genealogist has a Facebook page, and Timeless Paranormal have a Facebook page. But to be honest, I gab more on my own page. I don't keep those pages up well. Mm-hmm. So just find me on Facebook under Shannon Bradley Byers and send me a message or a friend request, and we can chat that way. Okay. I'm always putting up whatever may pop up event wise on there, because sometimes stuff comes out of the blue. But I have to say, right now life is, as far as paranormal goes, is actually pretty boring since we're not doing residentials anymore.
Right. All right. Well,
and I forgot. Do I have any? We forgot Nigel. I am making Nigel a Facebook page.
Oh, Lord.
All the pictures I showed you at Scarefest, I am going to be making him his own Facebook page of all the adventures that he has when he goes with us on trips.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I'll have to come back. We'll have to talk about him next time.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely have you back on the show, and we do appreciate you being on the show.
You like how I invited myself back? Isn't that awesome of me?
Oh, no. I was going to go ahead and invite you back, but, hey, you beat me to it. All right. Well, yeah.
Paranormal Folklore and How Not to Be a Ghost Hunter are available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, and Barnes & Noble, and you can get it as an iBook on iTunes, both of them.
Awesome. Well, there it is, folks. You've heard it. Our special guest tonight was Shannon Bradley Byers, and she is a paranormal genealogist. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And we will be back next week. We're going to have David Milby, and hopefully that will be a pretty cool show. December, we're going to be really rocking it out. December is actually the Tennessee Race Chasers month. We are going to have Doogie. We're going to have Porter. We're going to have Chris, Brandon, and Mike G. So stick around for December. I hope everybody has themselves a great evening, and goodbye.
The Phantasmic Journey Podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studios. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Paula Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon.